Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Gilada, and warm welcome to you. So,
Thank you.
as you know, the refractory industry that we all know is facing certain challenges today, and Gita Refractories has been on the forefront in addressing those challenges. You have done very well, I would say, in terms of exports, in terms of performance. The biggest challenge, of course, we know is one of the biggest, I would say, is primarily the raw material availability in this country, for which, at least for the magnesia part, we are dependent on imports. And as a part of our Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, we need to develop our own sources for the raw materials. So that is one issue where I think Gita Refractories must be working on. So today we have the interview of Mr. Rajgopal Gilada with Steel and Metallurgy. Mr. Rajgopal Gilada is the Managing Director of Gita Refractories Limited, and he heads the entire Gilada group. So a very, very good day to you, Mr. Gilada. Now,
Thank you, sir.
Gita Refractories have been in existence since 1988, and at present, from 88 to 2021, you have already completed 33 years of your existence in the production of refractory bricks, amounting to around 17,000 tons, and monolithics of around 19,200 metric tons. So how would you evaluate your journey during the last 33 years and at present, what is the market share of Gita Refractories?
The present market share of Gita, the present refractory business in India is somewhere around 12 to 13,000 crores. And our market share in that is presently 0.25%.
Okay, and what if you could just take us through the journey of Gilada in the last 33 years?
Initially, when we entered into this refractory field, we were pretty, new, and this field was pretty new for us. So it took about 3-4 years for us to understand what is refractories and how the refractory business is and how it has to be taken forward. And then in 1995, we did first major expansion. Actually, in 1988, where this unit was acquired by us, it was belonging to some other person who was known to my father. And since they could not manage the unit properly, and the unit went sick, so they invited us to help to revive the unit. So that's how we, came into this refractory line. And then after 4-5 years of trying to revive this unit by helping them from outside, we found that they are still not able to pull it off. So in 1995, we took the management of the unit. Earlier, we were part of the board of directors, but we were not directly, looking after the day-to-day affairs.
So you're more of an investor that time.
Yes, more of an investor. So it took about 5-6 years for us to understand this refractory market and scenario. And in 1995, we took a decision to, take over the unit. Then going forward, we found that unless we do some modernization to the unit and expansion, it is very difficult to compete with the present, industry giants. So in 2002, we did our first expansion in modernization. At that point of time, I recollect we invested around 4 crores. It was in 2002. And then going forward, in 2011, we did the second modernization. Now, in 2019, we have done a major expansion in modernization, which is going to get completed by this March 2022. In this particular modernization expansion, we have invested almost 15 crores, and we intend to take our capacity from the present capacity to almost 3x. That means after this completion of this modernization expansion, our capacity would be to produce 2,500 tons refractories per month.
Okay. So that is about 30,000 tons in a year additional.
Yes.
That will be the volume. That includes the monolithics, or that is?
No, that includes monolithics also.
So today, Gilada ji, your group and Gita Refractories, you have 95 plus products, from high alumina brakes to mag cup brakes, then mag chrome, chrome mag, LC, ULC castables, ramming and gunning, felting and spraying mixes, aluminium castables, EBT and NFC. So you have a large spectrum of products in the refractory segment. Now,
yes.
Out of this, we understand mag cup plays a very important role, because that's, so to say, real bread and butter for Gita Refractories. So could you throw some light on the production breakup of how much of mag cup you produce in a year, and what is your monolithics capacity, and in terms of market segment in the mag cup, particularly in the mag cup segment, what position do you hold as of today? And also in monolithic.
As I told you, we have embarked upon a major modernization expansion. So once this is completed, we'll be in a position to produce almost about 700 tons of magnesia carbon refractories every month. Presently, we produce around 200 tons. Presently, that is because the expansion is still not completed. So in the present capacity, we produce about 200 metric tons per month. But going forward, we'll be able to produce around 700 metric tons of magnesia carbon. And we have put up a most modern castable making unit, which can produce almost 1,000 tons of monolithics and castables every month. In addition to that, we have also installed a ultra high temperature tunnel kiln, and along with that, we already have a high temperature tunnel kiln. We have added another ultra high temperature tunnel kiln. Then heavy duty presses from China we have imported, and we have added to our infrastructure. In addition to that, modern mixers, inclined mixers, which earlier we were having CCM mixers. Now we have added CCIM mixers, and also we have upgraded our R&D and testing facilities also. We have also put up a pilot plant, in this expansion phase. So these are all the facilities which will combinedly give us a total output of 2,500 tons per month.
Thank you, Rajgopal ji. Now, just for the sake of knowledge, if you could just tell us, what is the present employee strength of Gita Refractories, both in terms of white collar and blue collar, both put together?
To present employee strength is around 125 to 150 people. In that, white collar is around 45, and the rest are about 80-90 people are blue collar.
They're all direct employees, or you have contract as well?
Yeah, some of them are under contract also.
Thank you so much for the information, Mr. Gilada. Now, your headquarters is located in Bangalore, and your plant at Hoskote. Now, if you could just take us through the production facility at Hoskote and what kind of infrastructure you have as of today. In terms of quality of refractories, how would you rate the performance of Gita refractories as compared to global standards and your peers in India as well?
I mean, just before this, I had mentioned a few details about the infrastructure. Of course, again, I'll repeat it. Under this modernization and expansion, we have added a ultra high temperature tunnel kiln, and then heavy duty presses. In addition to that, modern mixers, and some additional crushing machineries and crushing facilities. In addition to that, we have also upgraded our testing and R&D facility. We have also added a pilot plant under our R&D unit. So this is all under expansion is what I have mentioned. Prior to that, we already possess one tunnel kiln. The tunnel kiln that also is ultra high temperature tunnel kiln, and then we have had two heavy duty presses earlier, and then three small presses, and then about 4 or 5 mixers and crushing facilities, then a few testing facilities. So whatever we have, whatever I mentioned before that, this is all newly added, and all this put together would, amount to producing about 2,500 tons per month. And your next question was, in terms of quality, how would we rate our performance as compared to our peers? See, all along our quality has been, good, but with this present, modernization and expansion, we feel we will be one of the, best compared to the best in India.
Right. Well, why I specifically came to the quality issue was also because of the fact that now, payments being related to number of hits and also based on performance guarantee and parameters related to performance. So obviously, unless in terms of quality and performance you stand up, it is very difficult to survive in this very competitive market scenario.
True.
So the other next question which I would like to bring up is you mentioned that Indian refractory is today valued at around 13,000 crore. My assessment was 9 to 10,000, but you were mentioning 13,000 means there has been a growth in the last couple of years. Out of this, what is the market share of Gita refractories? Though you have mentioned a little bit about the market share in general, but moving forward, since you are expanding now, you'll be a 30,000 ton manufacturing facility during a year. So what is going forward, what would be the market share, and what is your target for FY 21-22 and FY 22-23?
See, in FY 22-23, our target would be around achieving around 40 crores, because we are just going to complete our expansion and modernization by March or April. Right. But FY 23-24, we are aiming to touch around 100 crores.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's a huge growth.
Yeah.
In the next 2 years. Well, in the 75, almost 70 or 2/3, I would say, of the entire refractory produced is consumed by the steel industry. 2/3
Yes.
is consumed, and rest by industries like aluminum, copper, glass, etc.
Cement.
cement, ceramic, petrochemicals, etc. And now, as per data available, India imported refractory bricks worth more than 850 crore during the year 2020, which poses a big challenge to Indian refractory and its Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. So, toward this end, what steps would you recommend to reduce our dependence on imported refractories? Though the association, Indian Refractory Makers Association, also is taking efforts to ensure that we cut down on our import of refractories, particularly from China and a few other countries. But then, as a producer, uh, what is your suggestions on our ministries like Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Steel, to ensure that they insist on using Indian refractories in our steel plants and in whatever application of refractories are there, to ensure that we use more of the Indian refractory. What would be your suggestion?
It's a very good question you have posed. That the major challenge faced by the refractory manufacturers here in India is, see, basically the major product under refractories is magnesia carbon. And magnesia carbon, most of the raw material comes from uh, China. Typically, our government has kept the custom duty rate of the finished product, that is magnesia carbon, which comes from China, also at 7.5%, and also the raw material which goes into producing magnesia carbon by the refractory manufacturers at 7.5%. So we are placed at a huge disadvantage when we have to compete with the Chinese manufacturers. So ideally, it should have been that you keep a higher custom duty for the finished product and a lower custom duty for the raw material, so that it helps the Indian refractory manufacturers to compete with their Chinese manufacturers or manufacturers from abroad. Anyway, so this, I think the government has to understand this and try to rectify this anomaly. If they understand it quickly and rectify it, it is going to help and go a long way in fulfilling the dream of our honorable Prime Minister towards the Atma Nirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, what which is being you know
Yeah, and it is being announced by the Prime Minister, as you said.
announced and being propagated by all the ministries and all these things. Some small step has been taken by the government plant, that is sale plants,
Yeah,
that they have now stopped importing refractories directly from countries like China. So it has helped to a certain extent the Indian refractory makers, including us. We are also part of that. So including us, and but still, a lot of work has to be done in under this to totally, because
right.
what people do a lot of jugad. We Indians are very good at doing
Yeah,
jugad.
yeah,
We bypassing. We know how to bypass things. So
yeah,
although there are things on paper, Atmanirbhar Bharat, that you cannot import directly from China. What people do is they, import it in their some XYZ name. They bring it here and then they change the entire packing, and then they try to, push it as if it is manufactured uh, in India. So all
yeah,
this kind of malpractices are still going on. The government, the steel plants are also aware of it. They are also being vigilant about this and then trying to curb this sort of activity. But still, uh, you know, they have not been able to completely stop it.
right. Yeah, bodies like Department of Revenue Intelligence is there. So it is their job, the law enforcing agencies, to ensure that this is
No, the
put to a stop?
Department of Revenue and Intelligence doesn't have much role in this. These steel plants, of course, they are insisting that you have to declare that how much percentage of your supplies coming to them is manufactured here in India, and how much is the import component. But we Indians, we try to find a
Bypass,
lot of ways bypass it.
right. Uh, so the other issue, which at the beginning I was mentioning, the biggest challenge for the refractory industry is also the unprecedented rise in raw material and freight cost, which has increased by almost 40% in the recent months. China, 97% fused magnesia price have increased from $610 per ton to about $1,000 per ton.
No, $1,400.
1,400.
Yes.
That is more than double. As a result of which refractory prices has increased by almost 40% in the recent months. Now, availability of locally produced raw material poses another challenge in the recent months. And efforts are being taken. I think in one of the interviews you gave to one of my other magazine, you mentioned in that India is already, in fact, also Gita Refractories have found alternate raw material sources other than China. Now, how would you assess the entire situation? And at the same time, what do you think are the remedies of this malice right now, which puts, because you are already under a threat in the terms of delayed payments from steel plants. In fact, the last refractory webinar which I did, where you know the chairman of Indian Refractory Makers Association, Mr. Pramod Sagar and others, all of them were there. Mr. Ishmohan Garg, Mr. Samir Nagpal, all of them were there. In fact, this is one issue which came up, that delayed payments from steel plants are an issue. And I did speak personally to a lot of CEOs of the public sector steel plants as well on how to really solve this issue. So keeping this in mind, how would you assess this situation as of now? And what do you think are the remedies which could help us?
Sir, frankly, see, presently the present raw material for magnesia carbon. See, when we are talking, I understand we are particularly concerned about the magnesia carbon refractories. So if I talk about that particular product, most of the raw material has to come from outside India, either from China, and China is the cheapest. So therefore, 90% of the raw material has to come from China. But with the present disruption, where the prices have gone haywire and the freight rates also are on the rising trend, we find in a very challenging situation how to overcome this. So therefore, what we are doing is we are trying to find some alternative raw materials. We are trying to do some backward integration, trying to um, uh, produce some of. See, we cannot entirely replace it. There are
Exactly.
few raw materials which cannot be replaced. Because we don't have we don't have any facility in India to produce that. Neither we have that kind of raw material also in India. So so at least next 2-3 years, so I don't see that the completely imports will be stopped. We have to be dependent on imports, and therefore we will be hit by these kind of disruptions year on year. Of course, we as Gita Refractory, we are trying to see do some backward integration. And earlier, if we are importing about say 50%, so we are trying to see how we can bring it down to 40% or 35%. That is the maximum what we can do. So unless there are facilities put up in India by people who can manufacture this quality refractories raw material, this is going to be a real challenge. And therefore, we are trying to see how we can bring it down to 40% or 35%. That is the maximum what we can do. So unless there are facilities put up in India by people who can manufacture this quality refractories, raw material, this is going to be a real challenge. And therefore, we are trying to see how we can bring it down to 40% or 35%. That is the maximum what we can do. So unless issue and challenge.
Yes, sir, it is. Now, our NSP 2007, the National Steel Policy, has set a target, as you know, of 300 million ton by 2030.
Yes.
So in line with that, Indian Refractory also needs a cohesive plan to ramp up the capacity as the Indian steel producers are doing. Now it's a effort jointly by all the steel producers to ramp up the capacities. As you must have noticed that everyone is uh, taken up a capex plan and adding capacities either brownfield or greenfield. Now, do you think the Indian refractory industry is ready to face this challenge and to meet this additional demand through local producers and not by going for imported refractories when demand suddenly there is a surge in huge demand for refractories? So
Yes,
how
yes.
effective?
Indian refractory makers are, well poised to take up this challenge. Presently, see, when we look at the entire refractory scenario, most of the refractory units are not working at 100% capacity.
uh,
So once this, surge in demand, which is expected gradually by up to 2030, that is 300 million. So I think there will be a lot of new refractory units also which shall come up. Even the existing refractory manufacturers would come forward to undertake expansions and modernization, like we have done it recently. We going forward, once we are settled down with this present expansion, we also have plans that in next 3 years 4 years we will also put up additional infrastructure and facility to meet out the demand.
you mean
So
new facilities at different locations?
yes, different location.
Right. So that's a great initiative. Now, this is the point which I was just mentioning a few minutes back. One of the complaints raised by Indian refractory producers is a drop in margins and delayed payments from customers. In fact, without naming anyone, I would like to say some of the refractory producers, in fact, went on to say that we cannot hire good people because we are unable to pay very high salaries to them because of the pressure on margins. So this is also a challenge which the refractory industry is facing in terms of unless you have comfortable margins, you cannot think of R&D efforts, you cannot
Yes,
think of
yes,
growth.
yes.
For example, in R&D, whatever you invest, the return doesn't come in one day, it comes in a few years. So you need spare uh, funds available to invest for things like R&D and in human resource development. So if you agree with this statement, what are your suggestions to your customers in the steel industry in this regard?
See, I have always advocated and requested our uh, customers who are majorly steel industries to treat the refractory manufacturers as their partners in business, who can jointly take forward their vision and their challenges. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it is not so at the moment. The steel industry, it doesn't uh, give the due what the refractory industry deserves. Although refractory being a very, very important element in making steel, but it is not realized particularly by the management of the steel plants, and therefore this kind of scenario emerges. So my suggestion is that if, although if it is even though late, they should realize that they should treat refractory industry as their
As a partner in
partners.
progress.
Yes, in progress.
Yeah, completely agreed. Uh, Now we are aware that Gita Refractories, let me first of all congratulate you on your export initiatives. And
Thank you.
we are aware that Gilada Group and Gita Refractories recently bagged a substantial order from a customer in USA. which in itself is an achievement. Now, can you throw some light on the details of this order and what kind of volume of exports you're looking at in FY22, and what is your outlook for FY23?
See, this order was being pursued by our people from last 2 years, and we were very fortunate to convince the customer. They are very, they are very fussy about India and Indian manufacturers. So for them, so they had sent first a team to assess our capability and our capacity. Once they found that we are competent to serve them, then they started with placing a trial order of around you know 1 crore rupees. That was a trial order, which once it is executed, then going forward, they have assured us that they will be procuring about 3 to 4 crores of refractories every month.
No, that's a big order.
Yeah, so we are anticipating quite a big substantial growth in exports. I mean, going forward, let us see. We are quite bullish about it.
Yeah, in fact, from our side also, our best wishes to you and Gita Refractories on your export initiative, which uh, you know not only helps in boosting our Indian refractories image, but also in terms of our sustainability and saving earning foreign exchange for the country. So
Yeah,
it's in
thank you.
itself is a good achievement. So my best wishes to you personally also for having achieved
Thank you.
this. And now coming to the last part of the interview, as the managing director of Gita Refractories and but, heading the Gilada group, how do you see the future of Indian refractory industry as compared to refractory industry in US and Europe? On the R&D front, what are the initiatives which you plan to take or you have already taken, yeah, as a part of your decarbonization and reducing your carbon footprint is concerned? And what are the recent innovations at Gita Refractories? What is the, in fact, employee strength you mentioned is about 150, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yes.
that, uh, and what are your expansion plans, which you have also covered in a way? But
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
could add a few more words on the expansion scenario ahead for the next 5 years, and what is the USP of Gita Refractories as compared to your competitors who may have become quite large by now, and some of your competitors are huge in size. They are on a global scale. Some of them have, like, I wouldn't like to name, but for example, RHI, which exists in multi locations across the world. So, in short, what is your vision, and how would you like to see the company?
Uh, it's a quite a big, lengthy question. So let
Yeah,
me
because
go one by one.
this actually sums up the entire interview. So it is a very big question because there's many parts. So if
Yeah.
you want, I can repeat that one by one again. First,
No, I'll start with the first one. Of course, I
yeah,
remember the first one. That as compared to the American and European refractory manufacturers, Indian refractory manufacturers are better placed because uh, in terms of you know the manpower cost and the other factor is we don't have that kind of stringent pollution norms which are still in place as they are in those countries. So of course, I'm not saying that there are a lot of things in place, but in US and Europe, so they are very very stringent. So that way, compared to them, we are quite better placed in terms of cost of manpower and then cost of production and the other requirements we have to fulfill with. So going forward, there is good scope for exports of refractories to uh, these developed markets. And your second question was it on R&D front?
Yes, it was on the R&D front.
That
I
what
mean,
are the
your R&D initiatives as a part of your decarbonization and reducing your carbon footprint. What R&D are
okay?
you under?
So as part of decarbonization, we are now planning to switch over to natural gas. Now, fortunately, where our industry is located, that is Hoskote, the GAIL has laid the gas pipeline, and shortly gas shall be available. This natural gas shall be available. So we plan to switch over to natural gas. So which will go a long way in reducing the carbon footprint. And so far as R&D efforts are concerned, of course, that is a continuing effort, and um, we are doing a lot of R&D work to try and see other than magnesia carbon, what are the other products which are suitable and which can give a better result and better life and better performance to our customers. I will not be very specific because that would be a little more revealing. So I will
Yeah,
restrict myself to that.
no, this yeah. Employee strength you've already covered. So if you could just highlight your diversification and expansion plans, other than the present expansion of raising your capacity to 2,500 tons per month is concerned. What are the other, let's say, if this is phase one, what do you plan in terms of phase two and phase three?
Yeah, of course. I have also covered that earlier, but again, I will repeat it that we have once we complete this and we stabilize this particular phase. Going forward in next 2 to 3 years, we have plans, as depending on the market and the demand. We have plans to set up unit at other location other than the present location to meet out those demands.
Right. So the last part is, of course, what is the USP of Gita Refractories as compared to your peers in the industry? What is it that makes you different from uh, the other players, including the so-called large names?
See, our USP mainly has been, focusing mainly on process control. We give great importance towards process control, that right from the choosing of raw material, selecting the raw material to its crushing and then mixing, pressing and then firing and then segregation and all that. So we have laid down a lot of SOPs uh, at our plant, and that is where today I can boast that our product is no way inferior to any of the best in the industry.
Yeah. And 5 years from now, how do you think Gita Refractories will place itself? Uh, you spoke of a turnover of more than 100 crores.
100 crore after 2 years, yes. In by
So,
2023-24, we would achieve a turnover of around 100 crores.
and in terms of say your ranking in the Indian refractory market, how do you see yourself 5 years from now as
In
a
terms,
top?
it's very very difficult to predict that. Uh,
Maybe
no,
maybe among the top 6 or 7.
I can say at least among the yes top 6, 7. We want to place ourselves among the top 6, 7 in the Indian refractory industry.
So that was great to hear, Rajgopalji, and my heartfelt, from the core of my heart, my sincere
Thank you.
thanks for giving so much of time within such a short notice. I was maybe your executive assistant Mohana would perhaps be a little upset because I was constantly following up with her. but that was to make sure that. And first of all, I was too impressed with an eloquent speaker like you addressing the refractory industry from its core. So it was really an honor to have you on board with us.